Hi, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to look at a computer that I unboxed for you in a previous video. Now, it wasn't your typical unboxing video. The video is intended to document the condition of the computer. So there were 3 computers in that video. They turned out pretty good, except one of them was missing one memory module. So I had it on video when I opened it, so there's no question that something was missing. So I was able to use that video. I don't believe I would have needed it, but I had pictures, I had video. If push come to shove, then I could show that, but I didn't have to. Great seller. They sent me out the memory module very fast. So this computer, I didn't open it because it has a little seal on it. Let me see if you can see that. Right there in the corner, little silver seal. So I didn't open it. The first thing I did in the unboxing video, I just hooked it all up, tested it, make sure it would boot. So it did boot. It booted into Windows 10. I didn't see any problems at all. So today, we're going to peel off that sticker and see what we actually have inside. Now, I'm hoping that this HP Z240 has enough space to do what I want it to do. Like, I want to put a GTX 1060 in there. So for that, we're going to need a 400 watt power supply and a 6-pin. Do we have that? Don't know. Is there enough room in here to put a GTX 1060 with 2 fans, so the longer version? Don't know because we haven't opened it up. But let's go ahead and do that and kick off this video. Okay, real quick, I made a mistake. Had the mic shut off on the second scene, so I'm going to do this voiceover. So I'm pointing here at the sticker. So in the last video, in the unboxing, I didn't take that sticker off because of warranty issues. So I wanted to give it a good test, but now we're going to take that sticker off and see what we got inside of here. So this is a pretty clean case. Everything looks good. It's easy to open. Get that lid off of there and look down inside of there. Alright. So what do we got? Get some glasses on and see, we got our 2 memory modules, 16 gigabytes of memory. That's good. We've got our SATA. We have 2 I don't know if they're both X16, but room for 2 graphics cards, probably an X16 and an X4. We have PCI Express, so that's good. Not a lot of expansion, but this cable here is so weird. The SATA cable goes around the cooler. It's like fashioned into it. Here we go. We do have a 6-pin. So that was something I was really concerned about. And we have a 400 watt power supply, 80 plus. Really good power supply, so we're good there. And here's something really neat here. We have pretty decent cable management here, and we have a 2.5 inch bay for an SSD, so really liking that. I'm a bit of a Lenovo fanboy, but that 2.5 inch for an SSD, that is really great. So it's going to be really easy to get a SSD mounted in there, and we have this 480 gigabyte SSD to go in there. And we're going to move the operating system from the 500 gigabyte hard drive that came with it to the SSD. That'll free that up, and so that'll be for storage. And then the bay above it, we're going to put a 1 terabyte hard drive in there. Yeah, 1 terabyte. So that's going to give us 1.5 terabytes. Not an incredible amount, but good enough to get this system up and running and have plenty to get started. Unless someone's going to be putting a lot of videos on here, then 1.5 terabytes should do it. I know a lot of the newer games got a lot of gigs of that you have to put on there, but this should do it for what we got. So we're going to do a few things with this system. One of the things we're going to do is this CPU cooler. We're going to pull that off and put some new thermal paste on there. There you go. Looks a little different than the others with that wire running around it. So, yeah. We're just going to take it off there and see what we got. Get that wire undone first. We got it in there pretty good. So, don't really want to take that wire off. We're just going to see if we can't get that out of the way. So, we'll just go ahead and unscrew this, and then when we get her all loose, we'll just see if we can't set it out of the way and carefully clean off the CPU and the CPU cooler. That's something I like to do on all of these older systems when I'm doing upgrades or refurbishes. It's really important to get that old CPU thermal grease off of there, because it can get dried up after enough years and enough use. So it just always makes sense to go ahead and just take it out, clean it up, put some new ones on there. This memory's in the way, so we're going to go ahead and pop those out. So there you go. Looked like a pretty good job of putting it on there initially. We're just going to scrape it up there, kind of get it up in the middle where we can get it out of there. Now, often I will just go ahead and pull that off, but we're just saving a little time here and just going to be careful that we keep it on top and don't get it down into the system. Don't want to do that. Want to keep everything as clean as we can. Don't mind my dog in the background there. He gets a little excited once in a while. So we're getting her cleaned up good. We'll scrape that last little bit out of there and we'll wipe off the rest of it. Should be clean enough. And we'll scrape off that CPU cooler. Again, just want to be careful not to get it down in there. Usually I just take it all the way off, but like I said, just try and save a little time since the cords running through the SATA cable running through it. We just put a little paper under there and that'll solve that problem. Then we can get the worst of it off of there and just wipe off the rest. I don't think it has to be like glove clean. I've seen people clean these off like a little bit too good, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think you just don't want any of the grease left, or hard grease. If it's not like super clean, it's not as important as there's just nothing hard left on there that might not allow you to get a nice firm contact when you put the new grease on and tighten it back down. So I'm looking around here and I forgot to have a rag on hand, so we'll have to address that. Let me get my towel over here. Sorry about that. Usually keep a little rag on one of those little soft rags on hand, but Didn't do it this time. There you go. We'll get that off of there, and then we'll get that off of the cooler too. And if you're doing it like this, which I normally wouldn't recommend, you want to be careful where you're sitting. I don't want that falling on anything. Motherboards are notorious for being easily damaged. So now I'm going to put some grease on there. I usually put too much on there, but as long as it's not squeezing out and getting everywhere, then I think it's okay. And it's better a little bit too much. And mind you, I didn't say a lot too much, but better a little bit too much than to not have enough. If you don't have enough, that's a really big issue. If you have too much, but just a little too much, it's just going to be oozing out a little bit, and that's not a major problem. But if you don't have enough, your CPU is going to throttle. That's for sure. So I like to put a bigger drop in the middle, and then one drop towards each corner, and just a tiny bit between. Probably overkill, but again, a little bit more better than a little bit less, because yeah, it's going to throttle if it's not covered good. That's for sure. As soon as it gets too hot, your system is going to say, okay, gotta slow her down, and we don't want that to happen. This is going to be a pretty good system when we're done, so we want it to run as nice as possible. So one of the things you got to pay in mind when you're tightening these down is you do it crossways. So I do each one just a little bit just to get it started, and then you're going to tighten down one corner, opposite corner, like that. And I don't do it all at once either. I like to go back and forth a few times, take it down easy, so the thermal paste has a chance to spread evenly. So getting there. I think we just about got her tightened up. So that thermal paste should be spread good. And you don't got to get crazy torquey on these things. It's not necessary. Just get them tightened down. And in this case, make sure I got that connected again, because it's running over the DVD. Not that we need that, but if you did, it's there. So it's like a slimline DVD player. So that's kind of cool, because it leaves those two drive bays wide open. So we could always stick a couple more hard drives up in there. And if we do that, we're going to run into an issue where we only have 4 SATA ports on this system. But we could put a PCI SATA expansion card in there. So they make them in different flavors, but like you could keep that DVD player because it's not really blocking the drive, and then get a 2-port SATA extender, and then you could have 4 storage drives, the SSD, and still got your DVD. So pretty cool. And now we're going to disconnect this power, because we're going to run them 1, 2, 3 like this. They had it set up a little bit different because we're just one drive. But we need to run them 1, 2, 3 from the SSD up. So we're going to pull these trays out of there. Looking pretty good. I like these trays. The trays are better, I'd have to say, than what I've seen on some of these Lenovo's. I love Lenovo's because the systems are so good, but they could put better trays in them, that's for sure. Well, there we're going. Getting that set up. Liking this so far. The trays are nice and solid. So let's get that other SSD tray out of there. I'm pointing to those drive bays. We could definitely stick a couple more up in there, as I mentioned before, if we wanted to. We could have 4 hard drives and an SSD, but we would need a 2-port SATA expansion to do it. And those are very reasonably priced, so if you ever get to that point, no problem. Well, let's see if we can fit that SSD in here and drop her back down in there. Okay, that's a little bit tight. I'm gonna get it in there, but yeah, I guess that's better than it being loose. So we got her back together here. Come on. Once we get her together, we'll drop her back down in that slot. And it is definitely tight. I have to work on one side at a time and use a little bit of strength. That is on there good, or that is tight. That's really tight. All right. Now let's get her down in there. And again, I don't know if this SSD is just a little big. It doesn't feel like it, but that is like way too tight. I'm not loving that. It's almost like there's something holding it. That's funny. Really is tight. Hesitant just to jam it down in there, but now I did, and it's like stuck. It don't want to go in, don't want to go out. Oh, okay. That is so weird. So I'm trying to get it out, but it don't want to come out either. Don't want to go in, don't want to go out. Yeah, let me take a closer look over here. See if I can figure this out. Don't want to just jam it down in there. We don't want to break anything. But I don't see anything in the way. So it's like it just needs jammed down in there. Don't want to come out. Okay, it just took a little extra oomph to get it down in there. It's surprisingly hard to get it down in there. The others went in so smooth. So now we're going to have to run the SATAs. I usually like to run a red one for the operating system, but I don't know. On this one, since the blue one is already in there, I might not use this red one. I might take it back off later and switch it for the blue. I'll figure that one out. Hopefully that's going to be out of the way, but it is definitely tight. All in all, it's going pretty good here. I'm going to put in another SATA cable over here. This one's going to be for that 1 terabyte drive. A little bit tight over here, right there by the CVQ cooler. Not loving that at all. I like it better when those ports are out of the way, instead of all jumbled up in one location. got two by the CPU and two over there on the other side. So only those 4 ports. But I guess it's not something that you would change all the time, so it's not a big deal, but it's not very convenient either. We're going to try to do a little bit of cable management later. We may go in here with a couple of zip ties and try to clean it up after we do the operating system, after we migrate it to the SSD. Just got the one fan, but we do have that power supply, so that's going to help. So hopefully that's not a issue. Get that memory back in there. A lot of times I like to pull this out no matter what, just to pull it out and reseat it. You just never know whether it was in there right the first time. What you don't want to do when you're doing this, you never want to jam it. Like this right now is giving me a little bit of trouble, but just taking our time. Don't want to force it. Don't want to mess up the memory, but even more so, don't want to break the board. Because on a system like this, probably not too cheap to get a replacement. I'm just going to take it back out of there, inspect it, make sure nothing's wrong, we're not putting it in there and wrong, or something in the slot. It doesn't seem to be. But yeah, I like to take them out just in case. You just never know if they're seated good, even if they're clipped. And it doesn't hurt to give them a fresh seat just to make sure the contact's all good. So we're starting to look good here. Next, I believe we're going to have to get that graphics card installed. So we'll get that 6-pin out. Get them on out of there. Deal with these wires a little bit, and then get all of that pinned back up in there with the wire mounts. We do have a couple nice little clips here and there to help with the management of wiring. That's good. I like that. Still need a couple zip ties here and there. Alright, what's next? Let's see if we can get that graphics card in there. Now again, this graphics card is a GTX 1060 by PNY. It has a 6-pin connection. This one has 6 gigabytes of memory. It's a pretty decent card, as long as it's got room. A little concerned about the length of it, so I got a couple more of these i7 6700s, but Lenovo's, and I do not think that I'll be able to put this type of a 1060 in there. They're just too long. I think we'll have to go with the one fan 1060s, or possibly something else on those. And just clearing it out to make room. Yeah, I wasn't thinking too good on that. Have to take out one more. That top one goes to the PCIe Express there. So yeah, wow. Can't see it there, but that is so tight. Just the back of that being carved out just enough allows it to fit down in there. So wow, surprised, but hey, it fits. So let's get this 6-pin connected, and there you have it. We've got a GTX 1060, 6 gigabytes in there. So that makes this a pretty awesome gaming PC. It really should do a good job on a lot of your AAA titles. I'm not talking about on the highest settings, on the toughest games, but i7 6700 is a good pairing for a GTX 1060 and will allow it to run a lot of games at pretty good frame rates. So really happy about that. I think it's going to do very good in my testing when I just do some simple stuff with it. It's also going to be good for video editing and stuff like that, though I probably would go to 32 gigabytes for that, but games, very few need more than 16 gigabytes. So you're going to be good on games, you're going to be good on running your office applications. This will be a fantastic small office or home business computer. So it's got a lot going for it here. I appreciate you watching. Again, I'll just go over the specs to conclude. But this is going to be a capable gaming machine. And awesome for office tasks. Really good for light video rendering. I think if we put in two more 16 or two more 8 gigabyte modules and got it up to 16 gig or 32 gigabytes, excuse me, you could do some rendering on it. I have another system similar to this one with the basically the same specs as this one would have if it had 32 gigabytes of memory, and I use it all the time. It works really good. I don't do like super large renders or 3D or anything like that, and I don't even do 4K. I just do 1080p for YouTube videos like the one you're going to see. I do have my other system that I'm recording this on with 64 gigabytes of memory and newer RTX 3060 12 gigabyte memory card. So that one, it can handle much better rendering with a 6-core 12-thread CPU. So that one does the more complicated kind of renderings and encoding and all of that. But this one, very capable, good at gaming. Someday we may upgrade it to 16 gig or to 32 gigabytes of memory. And yeah, there you go. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Sorry about going on this kind of last minute thing on this build, but stay tuned. We got a couple more builds, or quite a few more builds coming up, and more WordPress videos. So I hope you like the WordPress videos. They're not as techy. It's a different line, but I really enjoy working on WordPress. So I hope you'll also watch my videos there. Have a good day.